Hi, I'm João Matheus, and I'm gonna do my presentation on some curiosities of the Dark Knight Trilogy. I decided to talk about this subject because it's been 8 years since Batman's first appearance on a comic book, and because I really appreciate the movies of the trilogy. I think the first movie is the movie I most watched in my life. I'm gonna talk about the Batmobile, Gotham, and the impact of the trilogy on the film industry, and about the Joker. The Batmobile was the first beast designed for the trilogy. It was first made by Christopher Nolan, the director himself, with Doe, but it was Nathan Crowley the one responsible to make a mix of a stealth bomber with a Lamborghini and a Hummer to create something that, when we see, it looks deadly, functional, but it's also aesthetic at the same time. Gotham was filmed in Chicago, but it was always based in New York since its first appearance on a comic book. They also traveled to Hong Kong to give a more futuristic version to the city. This created a mobster tone filled with dark versions with a lot of shadows, rain, and smoke, and created something that, according to Christopher Nolan, was like an exaggerated contemporaneous New York. There's no doubt that we're living the age of superhero movies, and this has happened due to some movies that were pioneers, like Spider-Man, X-Men, and Blade. But the Dark Knight trilogy were responsible to introduce to the public a whole new way of seeing superheroes that make possible and plausible to see a man running around the city with a cape to find a clown. And this created a concept called fantastic realism that is the base of all the superhero movies we see nowadays, and it has been a success because out of the 10 biggest blockbusters of all time are superhero movies. I'm going to talk about the Joker. Until that point, we had only seen cartoonish versions of the Joker, like Cesar Romero in the 60s TV series, Jack Nicholson in the 80s movies, but Christopher Nolan wanted a darker version of the character. That's why people got so confused when he casted Heath Ledger to do the role, because Heath Ledger was known to be a romantic comedy guy. But the actor and the director got themselves together and made up a character that was based on the acting of Malcolm McDonald in Mechanic Orange, on some art paintings of Francis Bacon, and on some philosophical matters about the madness of the human mind. In order to incorporate the madness, Heath Ledger locked himself in an apartment for 6 weeks and stayed there all by himself, training his way of speaking, his way of talking, his way of standing, his posture, his walking, just to be as crazy as possible. Unfortunately, a couple months after the end of the shooting of the film, Heath Ledger was found dead in his apartment due to drug abusing. However, his performance really shocked the world. He became an icon of the pop culture, and he won an Oscar of Best Actor in a Sport Role. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.